Beloved soul, hear these words, and let them take root in the fertile soil of your being. Wealth is not a distant dream, nor a prize to be chased. Wealth is a frequency, a living current of energy flowing through the universe. To the one who dares to align with it, riches rush in, doors swing open, and opportunities blossom like springtime flowers. And how does one align? Not through strain, not through ceaseless struggle, but through the sweet surrender of sleep. For when the body rests, the conscious mind grows silent, and the subconscious mind, powerful, tireless, unguarded, takes command. It listens, it absorbs, it obeys. Tonight, as you drift into rest, you shall place your mind upon the current of abundance. 3 hours is no small gift. It is enough to wash away the residue of fear, to dissolve the lies of lack, and to engrave new patterns of prosperity deep into the hidden chambers of the soul. In these hours, money ceases to be a stranger and becomes a faithful servant, rushing to answer the call of your renewed belief. The wealth frequency is not mere sound, it is the echo of universal order. It is the rhythm of plenty, the hum of gold, the vibration of endless increase. While you sleep, this frequency moves into every corner of your being, cleansing, reprogramming, lifting. Doubt is scattered like dust before the wind. Poverty, thinking crumbles like an old wall. Faith takes its rightful throne, and imagination paints a vision so bold that reality must bow to it. See, wealth does not come by force, it comes by law. As sure as night follows day, as sure as seeds sprout when planted, the wealth you hold within must manifest without. Under grace, in perfect ways, your good comes to you. Without struggle, without harm, it flows, sometimes through doors you never imagined, sometimes through people you never knew, but always with precision, always with certainty. And while you rest, the magnet awakens. The subconscious, free from distraction, becomes a mighty lodestone, pulling in opportunity, income, success, and the right connections. While your eyes are closed, the universe is at work. While your body is still, wealth is moving toward you. Tonight, release the fear of not enough. Release the belief that you must chase and fight. Instead, breathe deeply, surrender fully, and let gratitude rise. Say within yourself, I am thankful, for my wealth is here, my abundance is flowing, and my good is unfolding now. Gratitude is the seal, the final key that locks this truth into place. And when you awaken, you will not be the same. You will rise with new clarity, new confidence, new magnetism. You will see doors where once you saw walls. You will hear opportunity where once you heard silence. You will know, beyond doubt, that wealth is not something you wait for. It is something you already carry. Sleep now in peace and rise in power. Sleep in abundance and awaken in prosperity, for as you rest, wealth is drawn to you. The frequency is set, the magnet is charged, and the law is fulfilled. Beloved, you are rich in spirit, rich in mind, rich in life. And so it is. The wealth frequency is real, and it is far more than a pleasant idea or poetic phrase. It is a living truth, vibrating in every corner of the universe, waiting for the awakened mind to recognize and attune itself to it. Everything in existence moves in waves of energy, unseen but undeniable, and wealth is no different. Just as music flows from invisible vibrations that strike the ear and stir the soul, so too does the wealth frequency move through life, ready to be received by those who believe. When one begins to understand that money and abundance are not outside forces, but energies drawn to us by alignment, the entire perception of wealth shifts. It ceases to be something hard to attain and instead becomes something naturally attracted, a magnetic current flowing to those who are tuned in. The wealth frequency does not ask for struggle, fear, or endless toil. It responds not to desperation but to vibration. When your thoughts, feelings, and words hum in harmony with abundance, you place yourself upon the channel where prosperity flows. You cannot dial into a radio station by wanting it alone. You must tune the dial. In the same way, no amount of fear, driven work or worry will tune you to wealth. It is the inward state, the belief you hold and the vision you sustain, that opens the current. If you think lack, you vibrate lack. If you think prosperity, you vibrate prosperity. The frequency is real and it cannot be fooled. It gives back exactly what you broadcast. This truth explains why two people can stand side by side in the same world, facing the same conditions, and yet one prospers while the other struggles. It is not the outer circumstance, but the inner vibration that determines the flow. The one tuned to wealth frequency sees doors where others see walls, hears opportunity where others hear silence, and walks in faith where others stumble in fear. Life bends to their vibration. The universe, impartial and precise, delivers to each according to the frequency they carry. The law is exact, the current unwavering. To live upon the wealth frequency requires a deep reprogramming of the subconscious mind. For many years of poverty, thinking, fear of loss, and belief in limitation have dulled the inner instrument, but the frequency never vanishes, it only waits to be reclaimed. By speaking words of abundance, by imagining vividly, by resting the mind in faith rather than worry, the soul begins to shift, slowly at first, like a radio tuning into a faint signal, then stronger, clearer, until the music of prosperity plays without interruption. Wealth is not accidental, nor is it reserved for a chosen few. It is a universal current, impartial as the sun that shines on rich and poor alike. Those who attune receive, those who resist block their own good. The wealth frequency is real, and when you sleep upon it, when you dream upon it, when you let it fill your subconscious with its song, it begins to move outward into your days. The invisible always precedes the visible. First comes the inner alignment, then the outer manifestation. Wealth comes not by chance, but by law, and when you live in harmony with that law, abundance becomes not a hope, but an inevitable reality. Sleep is the sacred gateway through which the conscious mind releases its grip and the subconscious steps forward, wide open, ready to receive. In the waking hours, the conscious mind is filled with chatter, doubt, resistance, and the endless noise of the world. It is the gatekeeper, often skeptical, often fearful, blocking the flow of new ideas and higher truths. Yet when sleep comes, the guard is dismissed. The doors swing open, and the subconscious, which never rests and never forgets, becomes the fertile soil in which seeds of transformation are planted. This is why sleep is not only a necessity for the body, but also a holy passage for the spirit and the mind. In those quiet hours of rest, when the senses are hushed and the world fades away, the inner temple is unlocked, and what is spoken, heard, or imagined passes directly into the deep chambers of the self where creation begins. The wealth frequency enters most powerfully in this state because it is no longer competing with fear, driven thoughts, or conscious resistance. During the day, one may affirm abundance and yet silently doubt it. One may visualize wealth and yet immediately contradict the vision with worry about bills or obligations. The conscious mind argues, it questions, it reasons away miracles, but in sleep there is no argument. The subconscious accepts without question. It does not analyze, it obeys. It takes the words and vibrations it receives as law, imprinting them upon the soul, and these impressions become the magnetic patterns that shape outer reality. Thus, sleep becomes the divine workshop of manifestation, the place where wealth can be invited in without interference. Consider how a child, drifting to sleep, can be soothed or troubled by the last words spoken before their slumber. Those words echo into their dreams and form the texture of their rest. The same is true for the adult soul. What you bring with you into sleep colors your subconscious, either reinforcing the shadows of lack or awakening the light of abundance. To fall asleep in worry is to water seeds of fear. To fall asleep in faith is to cultivate a garden of prosperity. Sleep is the passageway, and whatever you carry across its threshold multiplies in silence until it reappears in your waking life. The rhythm of sleep itself mirrors the rhythm of creation. Just as night precedes day, the unseen precedes the seen. Rest comes before action, and the dream precedes the manifestation. The wise soul uses this order not to escape life, but to reshape it. By deliberately entering sleep with wealth frequency, through meditation, affirmation, or sound, one gives the subconscious a blueprint of prosperity to build from. The body may rest, but the spirit is at work. The mind is at work. The unseen forces are at work. Hours of rest become hours of creation, where every moment deepens the new alignment and strengthens the magnetism that draws wealth into reality. When one understands sleep as the gateway, the night ceases to be wasted time. It becomes the most powerful part of the day, the hidden workshop of abundance. For while the world slumbers in forgetfulness, the awakened soul slumbers in creation. In this gateway, lack dissolves, resistance melts, and wealth frequency enters unopposed, preparing the dreamer to awaken into a life already shifting toward prosperity. The power of night repetition is the secret key to engraving wealth consciousness into the deepest layers of the soul. A single thought can pass through the mind like a bird through the sky, leaving little trace behind, but repetition transforms thought into belief, and belief into law. Just as drops of water carve stone over time, so do repeated impressions carve pathways in the subconscious until they become unshakable truths. At night, when the conscious mind has surrendered its ceaseless questioning and the body lies still in rest, repetition is not resisted but absorbed. The words, the frequencies, the affirmations of wealth flow unhindered into the inner self, and each night of repetition strengthens the signal until it becomes the dominant vibration of life. Many live in poverty not because abundance is withheld from them, but because they have rehearsed lack so faithfully. Night after night, they fall asleep rehearsing their fears, counting their burdens, replaying their struggles. Without realizing it, they have been practicing poverty, planting seeds of insufficiency into their subconscious with relentless repetition. The universe, impartial and obedient, returns to them the harvest of what they have sown. But when the cycle is reversed, when wealth, gratitude, and prosperity become the nightly refrain, the subconscious begins to shift its allegiance. Slowly but surely, it forgets the old patterns of fear and lack and adopts the new rhythm of increase and abundance. 3 hours of wealth frequency repeated in the night is like 3 hours of watering a garden. Seeds are not merely planted, they are nourished, strengthened, and made ready to break through the soil of consciousness into visible reality. Repetition does not leave the subconscious any room to wander. It insists, it reminds, it declares, wealth is here, abundance is natural, prosperity is my truth. With every repetition, the subconscious accepts the message more fully until it no longer questions but acts upon it. The law of mind dictates that what is impressed will be expressed, and night repetition ensures that the impression is strong, constant, and unshakable. The power of night repetition lies not only in planting wealth, thinking, but also in erasing the stains of the day. Each day brings with it countless suggestions of lack, the news of fear, the voices of doubt, the complaints of others. These impressions cling to the mind like dust, but at night, through repetition of wealth frequency, they are swept away, replaced by the higher truth of abundance. The subconscious, cleansed and renewed, awakens with a different command written upon it. It awakens ready to draw forth opportunities, to recognize wealth where before it saw none, to magnetize prosperity through unseen channels. The one who understands the power of night repetition does not leave their subconscious unattended. They guard the gate of sleep, ensuring that only the voice of abundance enters. Night after night, they return to the same frequency, the same affirmations, the same flow of prosperity. And as surely as the tide wears down the hardest rock, this repetition reshapes their destiny. Wealth ceases to be a fleeting desire and becomes a living reality, for the subconscious knows no difference between what is repeated and what is real. To repeat wealth nightly is to command it into form, and the universe, faithful to its laws, must obey. Money as a servant, not master, is one of the highest truths that liberates the soul from bondage and ushers it into true prosperity. For too long, humanity has bowed before money as though it were an idol of power, forgetting that money itself is but a tool, an obedient messenger, a neutral energy shaped by the consciousness that wields it. When money is treated as master, fear enters the heart, for a master demands servitude and punishes disobedience. But when money is seen as servant, freedom blossoms, and the soul commands without trembling. To place money upon the throne of life is to invite worry, limitation, and ceaseless struggle. To place it in its rightful place, as a helper and instrument, is to invite peace, balance, and abundance without chains. Money is not alive with will of its own. It does not choose who shall have it, nor does it conspire against those who lack it. It moves according to law. It responds to vibration, to belief, to alignment. It flows toward order, clarity, and faith, and flees from fear, confusion, and doubt. To chase money as though it were a master is to misunderstand its nature, for money is like water. It flows where channels are carved. It is the conscious mind and the inspired action of the soul that carves the channel, not the restless pursuit of the servant itself. When one forgets this order and bows before money as master, they become a slave to numbers, a captive of fear. Every decision becomes clouded by anxiety. Will there be enough? Will it last? What if it leaves me? Such thinking only binds the flow and repels the very wealth desired. But the one who knows money as servant never doubts. They speak with authority. Money obeys me, it comes when called, it serves my good, and it arrives under grace in perfect ways. This consciousness does not chase, it attracts. It does not fear, it commands. It does not grasp, it receives. Money as servant takes many forms, for it is not only paper or coin, but opportunity, ideas, connections, and resources. It is the universe arranging itself in response to your alignment. When you vibrate abundance, money appears as the faithful assistant to carry out your vision. It may come as a new door opening, as an unexpected gift, as a sudden inspiration that multiplies into fortune. But in each case, it is not the master dragging you. It is the servant answering to you. The wealth frequency strengthens this truth, for when the subconscious is steeped in abundance, the natural order is restored. Money is dethroned as master, and the inner spirit reclaims its authority. Night after night, as the frequency of wealth repeats, the subconscious learns its lesson. I am not subject to money. Money is subject to me. This becomes the unshakable command impressed upon the inner self, and money, being neutral and obedient, fulfills it with precision. True freedom is not in having mountains of gold while trembling at their loss. True freedom is in knowing that money serves you and therefore can never enslave you. With this knowledge you walk in peace, whether you hold much or little, for you know the servant is always at hand, ready to multiply, ready to appear, ready to obey the call of faith. Money as a servant brings joy. Money as a master brings chains. Choose always to command with love, with gratitude, with certainty, and you will find money rushing to serve you faithfully, never as tyrant, always as friend. Imagination shapes reality, for all that is seen was once unseen, and all that exists began first in the silent workshop of thought. Nothing stands in this world that was not first conceived in the mind of someone who dared to imagine it. The house you live in was once a sketch in an architect's vision. The clothes you wear were once only a pattern in the imagination of a designer. The wealth you seek is no different, for it too must be first painted on the canvas of imagination before it can appear in form. Imagination is not a child's plaything, nor a fleeting dream. It is the divine creative power bestowed upon every soul, the seed of manifestation, the invisible substance from which reality is born. When you imagine lack, you give shape to lack. When you imagine abundance, you give birth to abundance. The subconscious mind, obedient and uncritical, cannot distinguish between what is vividly imagined and what is physically present. It takes the images impressed upon it and sets unseen forces in motion to make them real. This is why fear is so destructive, for it is imagination turned against its own master. Fear paints pictures of disaster, of loss, of insufficiency, and the subconscious, loyal to its impressions, manifests accordingly. But faith, that daring use of imagination, paints prosperity, paints safety, paints joy, and the universe hastens to supply. The power is the same, only the direction changes. To live wisely is to become master of imagination, to turn it always toward that which uplifts and expands. Wealth must be imagined clearly, boldly, and consistently, not as a vague hope, but as a present reality. To close the eyes and see yourself already provided for, already abundant, already living in prosperity, is to give the subconscious its blueprint. It does not ask how, it only obeys. The details of manifestation are handled by universal law, but the pattern is set by the images you hold within. Imagination is the womb of wealth, and repetition is the labor that brings it forth. The more often you dwell in visions of abundance, the stronger the impression becomes. You begin to feel the wealth as though it were already yours, and feeling is the language the subconscious understands. When the vision is charged with emotion, it becomes irresistible. The subconscious carries it as command, and reality bends to fulfill it. Doors open, opportunities appear, people arrive, and ideas spark, all drawn by the silent magnet of the image you nurtured in imagination. The mistake of many is to imagine small, to limit the vision by fear of disappointment. Yet imagination knows no bounds, and the universe holds no shortage. To imagine greatly is to honor the source of abundance. To shrink your vision is to dishonor it. Dare, then, to imagine a life of overflowing prosperity, where money comes with ease, where opportunities multiply, where freedom reigns. Hold this image as though it were already yours. See it vividly, feel it deeply, repeat it faithfully, and reality must conform. Imagination is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. It is the unseen mold into which substance pours. To master imagination is to master reality itself, for what you continue to see inwardly, you shall one day hold outwardly. The law cannot be broken, as within, so without. Imagination shapes reality, and the one who knows this truth walks in the certainty that their wealth is not a dream waiting to be granted, but a reality already created, awaiting only the moment to appear. To release fear and lack is to untie the chains that have bound the soul and held back its natural flow of abundance. Fear is the great thief of life, a silent enemy that whispers of danger where none exists, that paints images of failure upon the canvas of the mind, and that convinces the heart that supply is scarce. Lack is its offspring, the outward picture of an inward belief that there is not enough. Together they form the prison in which many live, not because abundance is absent, but because fear and lack have blinded the eyes to its presence. When the mind trembles at tomorrow and clutches desperately at today, It cuts itself off from the current of wealth that flows freely to those who trust. To release fear and lack is not a mere suggestion. It is the essential act of liberation that makes true prosperity possible. Fear cannot coexist with faith. The moment you believe that your supply is infinite, fear dissolves like mist under the rising sun. The universe is rich, overflowing, and boundless, and the same intelligence that painted the stars across the heavens has not forgotten you. To imagine that life withholds good is to deny the nature of the source from which all good flows. When the heart accepts this truth, lack becomes impossible, for lack is not reality, but a lie sustained by belief. Release the belief, and the picture of poverty dissolves as quickly as a dream upon waking. The subconscious mind holds tightly to the impressions it has been fed, and if it has been trained in fear, it will replay those patterns endlessly, drawing lack as faithfully as a magnet draws iron. But the power of release comes in planting new impressions. When fear arises, it must be replaced, not entertained. To affirm wealth in the face of doubt, to speak abundance in the presence of worry, is to retrain the subconscious with higher truth. Each repetition chips away at the old structure until it crumbles, and a new foundation of confidence is built. Night after night, as the wealth frequency saturates the inner mind, the old voice of fear grows weaker until it is silenced altogether. Releasing fear and lack does not mean ignoring life's challenges. It means facing them from a higher place, knowing that supply is greater than demand, that provision precedes need, that every problem contains within it the seed of its solution. To look at a bill and tremble is fear. To look at it and affirm, "This too is paid, my supply is endless," is faith. The outward picture may not yet agree, but the inward vibration sets the cause in motion. The unseen moves first, and the seen follows without fail. When fear is gone, decisions become bold, opportunities are seized, and wealth flows naturally. When lack is no longer believed in, every circumstance is viewed not as limitation, but as preparation for increase. Release is not passive. It is a powerful act of faith, a deliberate turning away from the lie of insufficiency and a turning toward the truth of abundance. As fear departs, gratitude enters. As lack is denied, wealth is affirmed. And the law of life, exact and unchanging, responds to the release. Fear and lack vanish from experience, and the soul walks in freedom, supplied, supported, and surrounded by prosperity on every side. Alignment with divine order is the golden pathway upon which true wealth and lasting prosperity flow. When one is out of harmony with the divine current, life feels like struggle, efforts are scattered, results are fleeting, and doors remain closed no matter how hard they are pushed. Yet the moment alignment is restored, burdens lift, resistance dissolves, and supply arrives in ways so effortless they appear miraculous. Divine order is the rhythm of the universe, the sacred pattern woven through all creation, and it governs every detail of life with precision and grace. To align with it is not to force, but to surrender, not to chase, but to allow, not to bend life to your will, but to trust that the higher order knows the perfect way to deliver your good. Wealth that comes from striving against the current often brings sorrow with it, for it was gained outside the flow of grace. It may arrive through strain, manipulation, or fear, and it slips away just as quickly, leaving the soul unsatisfied. But wealth that arrives in divine order is peace itself. It comes without harm, it blesses without burden, and it grows without limit. It finds you in perfect timing, through channels you could not have planned, and it bears the unmistakable mark of harmony. This is why alignment is the key. It ensures that every blessing is safe, secure, and multiplied by grace. To align with divine order requires a shift of inner posture. It is to release impatience, for impatience is mistrust of the higher plan. It is to let go of fear, for fear is disbelief in the sufficiency of supply. It is to silence the restless mind that insists it must control every detail, and to allow the deeper wisdom to guide. Alignment is listening, not forcing, receiving, not grasping. It is standing in faith that what is meant for you cannot pass you by, and what is not yours will never remain, no matter how tightly you cling. When you are aligned, signs appear as if by magic. The right people cross your path, the right doors swing open, and even delays prove themselves to be protection in disguise. The wealth frequency, when embraced in sleep, impresses this alignment upon the subconscious. It teaches the inner self to trust, to expect, to flow rather than resist. Night after night, as the frequency repeats, the subconscious learns to let go of disorderly thinking and to rest in the certainty that life is ordered, guided, and perfectly arranged. Divine order does not mean passive waiting. It means inspired action taken at the right moment, under the right guidance. It is obedience to the gentle nudge of intuition, the quiet voice that says, "Go here, do this, speak now." Those who live in alignment act not from fear, but from faith. And because their actions are in step with universal rhythm, their efforts bear fruit beyond measure. Wealth gained in divine order does not slip away, for it is anchored in truth. It blesses not only the one who receives, but also all those touched by it. It expands without resistance, multiplies without loss, and circulates in endless increase. To live in alignment with divine order is to walk a path where every step is guided, every need is supplied, and every blessing arrives with perfect timing. It is the secret of effortless wealth, the assurance that life itself conspires to prosper you, and the unshakable knowing that abundance flows most freely when the soul is in harmony with the higher law that governs all. The subconscious magnet is the unseen force within that draws into life the conditions, people, and opportunities that match the dominant vibration of thought and belief. It never rests, never questions, never analyzes. It simply receives impressions and brings them into form. Whatever picture is impressed upon it, whether by faith or by fear, it accepts without resistance and tirelessly works to attract its likeness in the outer world. This is why the subconscious is called a magnet, for it does not push or chase, it pulls, it draws, it calls forth into experience that which has been planted in its fertile soil. Many toil in the external world, striving with effort and labor to secure wealth, yet their inner magnet is set to lack, and so lack continues to follow them. Others seem to attract prosperity without strain, for their subconscious is magnetized with images of plenty, ease, and divine supply. The difference is not in circumstance, but in the inner current that is silently shaping outer events. The subconscious, once trained, becomes a loyal servant, drawing to the individual every form of abundance in harmony with their belief. Night is the most powerful time for this magnet to be tuned. As the conscious mind grows quiet, the gates to the subconscious open wide. In sleep, repetition of words, sounds, or frequencies has direct access to the inner magnet, impressing it deeply without interference. That is why wealth affirmations, prosperity meditations, and divine frequencies are most effective when heard during sleep. They seep into the inner chambers of the mind and take root, forming a new vibration that begins to radiate outward. Over time, this vibration becomes magnetic, pulling into life wealth in unexpected and miraculous ways. But the subconscious is impartial. It will magnetize lack as easily as it will magnetize wealth if fed with thoughts of fear, scarcity, and doubt. A person who constantly repeats to themselves that money is hard, that opportunities are scarce, or that abundance is out of reach, unknowingly trains the magnet to draw more of the same. Life then mirrors these beliefs back as proof, and the cycle continues. Yet, the moment one chooses to feed the subconscious with new images, wealth flowing freely, opportunities appearing with ease, supply meeting every need, the magnet shifts. The outer world must respond, for the subconscious always manifests what it holds within. This magnet does not work by chance, but by law. Just as a physical magnet cannot attract what is not aligned to its polarity, the subconscious cannot draw experiences that do not match its vibration. To set the magnet to abundance is to make wealth the natural result, not a rare exception, and once aligned, life becomes filled with divine coincidences, checks arriving unexpectedly, doors opening without effort, and new channels of income appearing as though out of nowhere. These are not accidents, but the direct response of the subconscious magnet tuned to prosperity. To work with this inner magnet is to understand that wealth is not something one chases, but something one allows. It is not the frantic pursuit of money, but the calm assurance that the subconscious has been impressed with abundance and therefore must draw it in. Just as the earth unerringly responds to the seed planted within it, so the subconscious faithfully produces the harvest of whatever thoughts are sown. The wise choose to plant wealth, joy, and supply, and in due season they reap a harvest that is rich, overflowing, and multiplied beyond measure. Gratitude, as the seal, is the invisible signature that completes the process of manifestation and locks abundance into the fabric of one's reality. Without gratitude, desires remain like unsealed letters, written, addressed, but never truly delivered. Gratitude is the confirmation that what has been asked for is already on its way, and in that acknowledgement lies the irresistible force that draws it nearer. When the heart swells with thankfulness, even before the evidence appears, it is as if the universe receives the final command, "This is complete, this is mine." Gratitude seals the blessing with certainty, preventing doubt, fear, or impatience from unraveling the work already done in the unseen. To live in gratitude is to stand in unwavering faith that supply is constant and unfailing. The thankful heart does not beg or plead, for it knows that abundance flows naturally. Gratitude is not merely polite acknowledgement after receiving. It is the bold declaration before receiving, the song sung in advance, the praise lifted while the ground is still bare. This gratitude is magnetic, for it aligns the vibration of the soul with the frequency of wealth and plenty. It is the seal that tells the subconscious, "Hold this firmly, this is truth, do not release it." And so the subconscious, ever obedient, shapes out a reality in harmony with that truth. Those who practice gratitude continually find that life opens to them with effortless generosity. Unexpected gifts arrive, relationships flourish, doors swing wide, and opportunities multiply. They are not surprised by this, for gratitude has become their natural state, and blessings are the natural result. Others may labor anxiously for every small gain, yet wonder why abundance eludes them. It is because their inner state remains locked in dissatisfaction, complaint, or fear. Without gratitude, the seed of wealth lies unwatered, unable to grow into harvest. Gratitude is the seal that nurtures the seed and calls forth the fruit in perfect season. When gratitude is felt deeply, it changes the atmosphere of the mind. Fear loses its grip, worry dissolves, and the restless urge to control every detail is quieted. Gratitude whispers that everything is already provided for, that life itself conspires to bless, that divine order is never late. This inner assurance radiates outward, and like a beacon, it draws abundance from every direction. Others sense it, opportunities are attracted to it, and wealth naturally gravitates toward it. Gratitude is the sign that the soul has accepted abundance as its rightful inheritance. It is not the amount of wealth already visible that determines the power of gratitude, but the depth of conviction with which it is expressed. A person with little, who gives thanks as though already overflowing, sets in motion a current that cannot be stopped. That gratitude seals the promise of increase and compels life to respond in kind. Conversely, one who has much but remains ungrateful finds even their wealth unstable, for without gratitude the blessing remains unsealed and subject to loss. Gratitude is not only the seal of manifestation, but the guardian of wealth once attained. To end each day with gratitude is to close the book of that day with the seal of abundance, ensuring that the subconscious carries only images of supply into the night. To wake with gratitude is to open the new day already aligned with prosperity. Gratitude is the sacred seal that finishes the work, confirms the order, and locks the blessing into place. It is the final word that tells the universe, it is done, and once spoken, it cannot be revoked. Awakening in prosperity is the gentle yet powerful realization that abundance is not something to be chased, but something one rises into as naturally as the dawn breaks the night. It is the moment the soul stirs from the dream of limitation and remembers its birthright of plenty. Just as morning light sweeps away shadows without effort, awakening in prosperity dissolves the illusions of lack and reveals that wealth was always present, waiting only for recognition. This awakening is not merely the gathering of riches, but the deep inner knowing that one lives in a universe of infinite supply, where every need is already met and every desire is already prepared. The one who awakens in prosperity does not strain, for prosperity flows like breath. They do not fear loss, for what is theirs by divine right cannot be taken away. They no longer live in the restless pursuit of money, because they understand that prosperity is a state of consciousness that attracts wealth as surely as the sun draws flowers to bloom. This awakening shifts perception. The world is no longer seen as scarce, but as overflowing. Opportunities are no longer rare, but abundant. Wealth is no longer distant, but at hand. Prosperity becomes not the exception, but the atmosphere. Such an awakening often begins quietly, like the first rays of dawn through a window. A subtle awareness grows that life is for us, not against us. Small signs of increase begin to appear, an unexpected gift, a door that opens, a need supplied without effort. The awakened soul takes notice, gives thanks, and thereby multiplies the blessing. Each recognition strengthens the state of prosperity until it becomes unshakable. Even in the face of outer appearances, the awakened one holds fast to the truth that supply is unending, and soon the outer world conforms to that inner conviction. This awakening is not bound by circumstance. One may awaken in prosperity while debts still exist, while the bank account appears low, while conditions seem unfavorable. For prosperity does not begin in figures or possessions, but in consciousness. It begins the moment the soul declares, "I am rich in spirit, rich in opportunity, rich in divine supply." From this declaration, the subconscious magnet is set, gratitude seals the blessing, and divine order arranges the channels through which wealth appears. Awakening in prosperity is stepping into alignment with that unseen truth before it is visible, and by faith, making it so. The beauty of this awakening is that it transforms not only finances, but the whole of life. Relationships are enriched, health is strengthened, creativity flourishes, and joy expands. For prosperity is not confined to money alone, but is the fullness of life expressing itself in every area. To awaken in prosperity is to walk in freedom, to trust in the unseen flow, to live each day expecting good. It is the end of striving and the beginning of effortless increase. Each morning carries within it the opportunity to awaken in prosperity anew. As the body rises from sleep, so too can the mind rise into this higher state, by affirming abundance, by giving thanks in advance, By embracing the wealth frequency even before the day unfolds, one ensures that prosperity colors every moment. Awakening in prosperity is the rebirth of consciousness into its rightful inheritance, the remembrance that abundance is natural, and the joyous embrace of a life that is rich, overflowing, and forever supplied.